All right, I'm just going to jump into this. Podcast is back. I got a lot of new equipment that I'm probably going to go overboard with. But that's all right. I've been affected by Matt Martin, I think. So if you guys don't like this format, I'm sure I'll get some feedback from it, but I'll make it better. But hey, welcome to summer. This is music from Epidemic Sound, by the way. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put up all the names of the songs. Sometimes I like the stuff I find there better than what's on the radio. This is Lawns Across America. I have no idea what episode number. But I figured this was some nice, uplifting, 80s sounding stuff, and I'm going to put some more music like this throughout this podcast. Because I think a lot of you here in summer, especially you with cool season lawns and it's 93 degrees out, you need the encouragement. All right, well, welcome back, guys. Thank you for being patient with me, those of you who do enjoy the podcast. Let me see if I can adjust this just a little bit. Might be a little loud. I think that's a little better. I might have to mess around with the microphone in post a little bit. Let me just say thank you again for those of you that have hung around and waited for the podcast to come back. I'm sorry that I haven't had it out this year yet. Just been so many other things I've been working on. As you guys know, we released an app, so that took some of my time. I also rewrote the ebooks again this year, as well as just really changed up the way I was doing my email newsletters. And when I say that, I mean I doubled down on the tips on those, so those were taking a lot longer. And then just to be very transparent with you, our business is growing. Yard Mastery is really growing. We're up to over 10 employees now. And so when you run a business like that, it tends to take away from some of the things you love doing. However, me and my business partner, Josh, have both realized that my main job needs to be creating content because that's what I'm good at. I am not good at adult work, as I call it. I am not good at running a business. I'm actually pretty good at managing employees, even though I think I've paid my dues on that for my life. I've done that for many years, and I'm ready to just go out here and have fun being the YouTuber guy. And I like that people think that that's all I do is play around in my yard all day, and I'd like to get back to that. So part of that is making these podcasts because I really enjoy these podcasts. As we did this last year, and again, I don't even know what number this is. I think I did 29 or 30 episodes last year with a couple skips in there where I just was bad with my numbering. You guys know I'm notoriously bad with numbers, and that even goes to podcast numbers. So the podcast actually ended up growing faster than my regular YouTube channel, which was great. I just think the podcasting medium is bigger than what YouTube is, and that kind of makes sense. And if you look at downloads wise in that, those were very fast approaching, sometimes being more than my YouTube video views would be, and overall just growth and that kind of stuff. So I really need to bring the podcast back, and I actually really enjoy this format because it's long format. I can really kind of flesh out topics. I can just talk trash if I want. And really, as I've always said to you guys with the podcast, I don't teach lawn care, I preach it. And I miss doing that. I like it. But these podcasts do take a lot longer to get together and prepare. When I do videos in the lawn, for the most part, I plan them in my head for the week. Whatever I'm doing in the lawn that week becomes the content for the most part. So it's like real-time stuff. And because I've been doing it for so long and because I've worked on so many lawns over the years and even my own lawn for this long, I kind of know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. I know all my camera spots. I know all of those things. So I can put together a YouTube video pretty quick. The editing does take a good 4 hours. If anybody ever wondered how long does it take me to edit a YouTube video, about 4 hours on average. Some of the ones I've been doing recently that have some more beeps and creeps and sweeps, to use something from Spaceballs, the beeps, the pleeps, and the screeps. Is that what it is? Is that Mr. Coffee, sir? Or Mr. Radar? But those do take a little bit longer to put together, maybe 6 hours to edit, but on average, about 4 hours for an edit. A podcast takes about 4 to 6 hours to actually put together. And when I say that, this one didn't take that long, but when I take your calls, and I can't remember the number, I'll flash it on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. But when I take your calls and stuff, we have to edit the calls ahead of time because I take out everybody's ums and ahs. So that takes time. I have to get the questions together. Then I have to do sometimes some research, like where does the person live? What's the weather been there? You know, that kind of stuff. What am I seeing in the groups in a similar area that might clue me into what their concern is or what their challenge is. So I have a lot of research I have to do around answering those questions. And then I don't write scripts for this, but what I do is I actually type out the answers, because that helps me to remember all the points I want to make. So it's literally like I could start publishing these answers. I might do that as like blog posts, because I literally write a blog post to answer the question. And that way it's in my head. So when I go and do the podcast here, I'm able to remember and flesh out all the different points that I want to make. Because as you guys know, I try to get you to look at things from a different angle. And that's the thing I think I like the best about the podcast, is that I'm able to get you to look at things differently. It seems like so many times the way the world works, especially nowadays, everything is either black or white, and there's no gray in the middle. And I see that a lot with lawns. I see the way that people do things now in the world where they're fighting, they also tend to do in the world with lawn care. And I don't mean fighting. What I mean is it's either this or it's that. Either I did it right or I didn't. And that's not the case. You know, my neighbor's perfect and I'm not. You know, it's not like that. There's a lot of gray area in between, and that's how relationships work. You have a relationship with your lawn. And I look at it that way. And I believe that forming that relationship with your lawn, it's a living thing. You have to work on it. If you neglect it, it's going to show you that it's neglected. If you put a lot of effort into it, it's going to show you that you put a lot of effort into it. It's going to reward you. That's how all relationships in life work. And I think there's a lot of overlap there as well that you can be taught. So those are kind of some of the reasons why I really miss doing the podcast, is I think I can flesh out those topics in a lot more of a deeper sense. So with that, today I'm going to talk about a lot of what I've been seeing here lately. And that is we're in this, like right now, whenever I get this published, hopefully tonight, this is Wednesday right now, July 1st. Is it July 1st? Let me see. You end up losing track. When you're me, every day is the same. That can be good or bad. Everybody thinks, oh, working from home must be great. Well, the internet never sleeps, so I end up working more now than I ever did in my life. So let's see. What is today's date? I don't even know how to find that on my phone. How pathetic is that? Well, the 4th is, what's the 4th? Saturday? Some of you guys are going to be like, bro, what's wrong with you? Oh, gosh. My phone has so many notifications on it, I can't even see the date. Here, let's do this. Okay, Google, what is today's date? Yeah, July 1st. Okay. All right. I swear, I haven't been drinking. It's still before noon. No, it's not. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. See, I don't even know what time it is, but I still haven't been drinking. So let's see. I actually have some sound effects. Okay, yeah, I won't get carried away with those, I promise. I do have music and stuff on here though, which is really fun to use. I hope I can control this thing the way I want to. Let's see. Yeah, because this is I got this Rodecaster Pro. Paul Jameson, he runs the Green Industry podcast. I actually met him at a conference this year, and what a good guy he is. He ran me through. He has a Rodecaster, and he took me through it. And I think Matt Martin has one now. This is like the thing. Oh, wait, we'll use that later. It's like the Jason Bourne music. It's like running through Amsterdam. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with this thing. Oh, yeah. If you're on YouTube, we're dancing. Hey, welcome back, y'all. Okay. Promise you I won't get carried away with that. Well, no, I can't promise you that because I tend to get carried away with everything and take it to extremes. So, all right. Hope that'll cheer you up a little bit. But let's talk about you guys that are facing these summer problems, these summer challenges with temperature. And I'm going to take this in with an analogy that I recently kind of came up with. The only sports that's been on live has been MMA, has been, cage fighting. And I actually enjoy watching UFC. And like many of you who are in my age group, you're Joe Rogan fanboys, I'm kind of bought into all of that. But I watch a lot of MMA. I don't know anything about MMA. I can't fight to save my life. If I was ever to throw a punch, you would know that. But I like watching other people do it. And then like many of you, after I watch it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go take some classes. And I've been saying that now for years. But with that being on there, I've gotten into some of the deeper things they do. And when I say that, I watch a lot of the YouTube channel where they kind of show you the behind the scenes, the training camps and things like that. And then I kind of watch the fights and I listen to I got the ESPN Plus subscription now. So I get to hear a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I get to see what goes on with the corner in between rounds and a lot of that. And I kind of have equated that now to how we're working on lawns. And we're going to go through that a little bit today because I think it'll be able to be an analogy that will open windows to your understanding of how your lawn is working. The thing about it is I want you guys to understand, and I'm talking mostly to cool season lawns. Warm season, I got something for you in the end. So please do not click away. In the middle, I got some rapid fire questions, but really I want to talk to my friends that have this Kentucky bluegrass, perennial ryegrass, or of course the old turf type tall fescue over by there. Because you guys, man, you're suffering. Let's just be honest. In the 90s, your grass doesn't like it. And I've said this many, many times that cool season lawns, no matter what the grass type is, the Kentucky bluegrass, turf type tall fescue, perennial rye, you get above 85 degrees and direct sunlight. That's another key to it. Along with the longer days that we have. I don't know where it is where you live, but right now the sun's setting at 8:30 at night. It seems like just a couple of months ago, it would sunset at 5:15. Now the days are longer. So what you have is you have a lot of heat. Obviously humidity is rising, but a lot of heat, no cloud cover, longer days. And when we're over 85, that's when cool season turf starts to feel it, starts to realize, wow, the spring is now over. I could lay out and be all content in the spring. Came out of winter, it was a tough winter, the lawn says, and spring came and I just enjoyed myself. Do I have any happy music for this? I doubt it. Oh, yeah, there we go. How about that? Oh, springtime. Yeah, let's get excited out of spring. So beautiful. I know. Okay. So laid back, the lawns are growing and we've seen it, right? I've showed you the growth curves. I have a green screen here that I'll probably throw some photos up on as well. If you're watching on YouTube, just throw those up there for reference. But we've looked at our growth curves and I've showed these a lot where cool season lawns, they have two camel humps, spring and fall. That's the growth time. That's the peak party time. That's when the lawns are really pushing themselves, looking great. Even roadside grass looks awesome at the beginning to the middle of May across most of the country, right? Well, then what happens is they get drunk on that rainfall, cloud cover with just enough sunlight to make them happy, temperatures in the 70s. They get really drunk on that, and then you end up coming into summer. And there's always this period where they just get whacked with the first couple days over 85, or what we've seen in the last month, and we're going to look at some temps across the country here, are where you're over 85, but then you even have days where you hit that 90, 91, and you have 2 days like that, and this spring, rain-drunk, spring-drunk, cool season lawn goes, whoa, I don't like this, and it just wants to just slumber. It wants to look like your lawn looks, right? This weird kind of semi-green gray, semi bluish in a couple spots, gray brown in a couple other spots. It looks sticky to you. It just has this look, this tired look to it, like a fighter that wasn't prepared to weather the storm, even in round 2 or round 3, right? Because maybe spring was training camp, and going through the early summer here, we're still in the early rounds, and your fighter wasn't ready for the onslaught that Justin Gagey was going to give him with leg kicks, just coming forward, just busting him in the face. Maybe he didn't train for that. Maybe you didn't train him for that, corner man coach, right? You see where we're going with this? Now, you would have got some breaks in between there. You do, obviously, in June, you get some breaks in between there. You get some 70-degree temperatures. That's your time in between rounds. Or maybe that's when you're taken just into the ground if you can, so you can get a little break, right? Riding in the full guard, trying to figure out what's going on. But you're going to show that wear on your face if you take too many shots, too many calf kicks. You're going to have a few welts. Somebody's going to call that out on you. So that's kind of how we're looking with you guys right now, right? So let's go through and look at some of the temperatures, because I want you to realize you're not alone. So I'm going to pull up a little folder I have here. We're going to kind of go around the country, and we're just going to look at some different areas where cool season grass is. By the way, let me just say this. Kentucky bluegrass notoriously has a more shallow root system than turf-type tall fescue. One of the reasons that is because Kentucky bluegrass does have the ability to push out rhizomes. So that's why Kentucky bluegrass is excellent at filling in bare spots. And I've said this in the past. If you have bare spots at the beginning of the season that are the size of a basketball, if you push your lawn properly, you're able to feed it good in the spring and then into the fall, and then in summer isn't too bad, you're actually going to have those basketball-size holes filled in by the end of the season. It will do that naturally because it pushes rhizomes. You could call those runners. Your turf-type tall fescue and your perennial rye, your bunching-type grasses can't do that. They can get thicker. They can grow fatter through the mother plant, but they can't send out rhizomes. So turf type tall fescue also will fill in thin spots, but not quite that size, maybe the size of a softball, if I'm just using the same old analogy that lawn care professionals have been using for years. But let's go on and look. Oh, I was going to say, so the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because with Kentucky bluegrass, it doesn't put as much energy into rooting in the spring because it's putting a lot of energy into rhizomes. Now, there may be ways where you can try to stimulate one or the other, but for the majority of you, for 99% of you listening to this, that's not the case. You're just pushing and pushing, right? Turf type tall fescue, on the other hand, it does do better in the heat. So does perennial rye. Because it does push roots, it doesn't have to focus on pushing rhizomes. It's just like anything, right? You can train for different sports. You can try to get big biceps, but working on cardio is another thing. So to work on being a bodybuilder and work on cardio and being able to run a marathon is tough. Usually people choose one or the other. But there are some people, and we're going back to our fighter analogies, that it can build both, that can have really good strength and muscle structure and be strong like an ox, but they also have really good cardio. So just depends. You're going to have every spectrum there. And that's what I want you to look at as we go through this. Just because I'm going to talk about lawns that are struggling, there are people whose lawns are not struggling. And those are the people that have that good cardio. Those are people that have good genetics maybe in their grass, literally. Maybe their soil is better. Maybe they started with a better base than you did. That can happen. So let's go across. We're going to look at some transition zones. I'm in Knoxville right now. I'll put it up on the green screen next to me if you do happen to be here on YouTube. Now, I'm hearing some buzzing in my ears. When I say that, I don't like the way the microphone sounds. I just didn't have time to try to fix that or go through that. So let me apologize if the sound is a little flat here. I'll fix that for the next podcast. But Knoxville, I'm going to start just June 14th. I'm just only going to look back a couple weeks. So here's Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, there is some warm season turf through Knoxville. This is definitely a transition zone, but there's a lot of fescue. 14th, so here we go, 83 degrees, and then they had 75 and rain on the 15th. So they had 83, then they had 3 days in the low 70s. Nice. Couple days in the low 80s, everything's good. Then all of a sudden, on the 20th, 89, and then 91 on the 21st. That right there is enough to zap your grass. Be like, whoa, what's going on? Then 86 the next day. Not much for recovery, can weather that storm. Then an 85. Again, remember, our temperature to look at is 85 for cool season turf. Over 85, the grass starts to kind of want to chill. It wants to take a break. 24th, you got 83, but the grass isn't sitting there going, hey, I'm going to recover because I got one day at 83. It's still kind of sitting back going, what's going on here? Then we had 25, 26, 88, 88 again. Then an 81 and an 84, a little bit of a reprieve. And then the last couple days, 90s, coming up the next few days, 90s again. So if you're in Knoxville, you're probably seeing your lawn struggle for sure. Now, there's a lot worse than that in some cases. Let's go to Louisville, Kentucky. Now, some of us would say Louisville, but I've been there for GIE many times, and it sounds like GIE should still be on. For those of you that are coming, I would love to see you there. I promise this year I won't do as many meetups at booths and stuff. Last year I did a ton of meetups, and that was great, but I didn't have any time to really enjoy the show. So this year I plan to not do any meetups if I can help it. I really just want to hang out, enjoy the show. I like to drive the equipment in the back too. So if you do come to GIE, I hope to see you there. But I learned when I went there, you don't call it Louisville, you call it Louisville. Louisville. 21st, 84, then 22nd, 88, then a couple days in the low 80s, then an 86 and 89, then a 90s last couple days. It's like a little 84 here today, looks like, but then 89, and listen to the upcoming through 4th of July weekend, 92, 94, 94. You in Louisville, cool season turf, going to take a beating. Let's go over by Naperville, Illinois. Let's take over to the Midwest because I got a shout out to my friends in Naperville, Illinois, over by Dealer Inspire. If you guys know what Dealer Inspire is, that's where I worked previously before I took on YouTube's full-time over by there. So this is a western suburb of Chicago. 21st, 83, 85, then some 70s, low 80s. Boy, that was nice. You guys did good. Then some 85s. Wow, you guys actually did pretty well, 21 through 26. This is June, had really nice weather. Then an 87. Oh, now look at this. You guys are in a heat wave. So 27th, so just a couple days ago, 87, 28, 87, 91, 88, 90, 91, 91, 91, 91, coming up over 4th of July. We're going to see this continue to repeat. You guys are all going to hit this. And I'm telling you right now, you got to get prepared. Some of you, your lawn's already been zapped from previous heat waves. I'm only going back 2 weeks. If you go back a month, you'll see there was some 90s in there that some of you got hit with in early June. Let's go to Newark, New Jersey. I cannot do a New Jersey accent. I wish I could because I think it sounds so cool. But listen to them. They got really whacked. So East Coast, probably you guys on Long Island, New York, because you're up that way. That's got to be the longest island in the world, as many emails as I get from Long Island, New York. But 21, this is Newark, New Jersey. 21st, you had an 85. Then listen to this, ongoing from the 22nd on. 91, 87, 88, 88, 89, 83, 92, 90. Now, today it's showing 79 in Newark. And tomorrow, 81. But then here's the weekend, 89, 91, and then an 83. So something's going through there. But definitely the last week or so, you guys got whacked hard. Totally hard. Let's go to Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio. You guys definitely had some 90s earlier in the month. Then a bunch of 70s through the 21st. But right now, here you are, 87, 86, and then upcoming 90, 93, 91. So these times are coming. So we could do more. Here, let's do Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, Virginia. You guys definitely transition zone. You guys got whacked. Listen to this. You guys got whacked early in June, but then here we'll start at the 21st. 87, 92, 91, 88, 90, 93, 89, 91, 89. And then it looks like a little cool down the next couple days, and then here's your 4th of July weekend, 94, 92. Now, some people will say in there, so just look at it this way. I got more here, too. I don't want to leave anybody out. I got Rochester, Minnesota. You guys have 90s coming up this weekend, and that's pretty far north. Overland Park, Kansas. I got your whole month. You had some 89s and some 90s earlier in the month. 15, 16, you had 90s. Actually, 13, 14, 15, 16, Overland Park. Overland Park, you had 90, 91, 91, 90 at the middle of the month. Wow, you guys had a hot middle of your month. 91 again towards the end of June here. And in here today, 90, 93, 92, 4th of July weekend, 91, 90. Overland Park, you guys are getting whacked. Again, transition zone. So what I'm trying to get at here is that a lot of y'all's lawns got whacked coming out of spring, coming out of May. You got whacked in early June. You may have had a little time off here and there, but what is coming is really going to hit you hard. And I don't want you to stress out when your lawn starts looking like the ones that I'm going to show here on the screen. I'm going to show you some heat-stressed lawns. I'm looking at ones that you can see. And the biggest thing you're going to notice in these heat-stressed lawns, I don't think I'm going to be able to line this up with what I'm talking about, but the one thing you're going to see in all of these is there are areas that look to be unscathed from the heat. And that's what I want you to realize. When your lawn is heat stressed, because a lot of people think it's disease. That's the big thing. Like when they see brown spots in their lawn or brown areas in their lawn, the first thing they think is it's disease. The second thing they think is it's grubs. So the one thing is it's not grubs. Let me just say this right now. Early in the season here, it's too early for grub damage. As I'm speaking right now in July, even in August, it's too early for grub damage. I can show you the life cycle of grub worms, but I'll walk you through it real quick. Grubs are the larvae of June bugs. June bugs, you call them Japanese beetles, masked Schaefer beetles. They emerge out of the lawns. They've been living over winter. They emerge out of lawns in June. That's why they're called June bugs. I find them in my pool filter all the time. You'll find them around the lights, buzzing around the lights of your house. Through June and July, they lay eggs in well-watered, well-irrigated lawns, which are usually yours, because if you were going to lay eggs, would you lay them in a dormant lawn or would you lay them in a healthy lawn? Because the reason I ask you that is because you want your children to be able to eat, and you want them to eat the nice, juicy roots of a well-watered, well-irrigated lawn. Thing is, the eggs are laid in June and July. They don't actually mature to where they can start getting enough mouth parts to take bites, probably until the end of August sometime in most cases. Even down here in Florida, it's like that. So you won't really see grub damage. By the way, they can start chewing on the roots, but it won't manifest as visible damage above ground even for weeks after that. So you're not going to actually see damage from grubs until September in most cases. So it's not grubs, and you guys got to help me with that. For some reason, and I think it's exacerbated by the fact that there are companies, big box stores that put Grub Control out early in the season. Now, these days, the preventative that we recommend is Scots Grub X, and you need to get that down before the grubs start feeding it. It's a systemic type of a control. You put it down, you water it in, the grass takes it in, and then the grass is pretty much protected. Chlorantropol is the active ingredient in the Scots Grub X. It takes longer for that process for it to get watered in and get taken in by the plants. It takes much longer. So typically they kind of do have to bring the Grub Control out in March, really, because you should be applying that in March or early April. So that way you're protected. Now, it'll protect you all the way through the feeding season, all the way to the fall. Whereas The old active ingredient we used to use, which is imidacloprid, which is still used, but it's got a little bit of a negative connotation to it because people believe that it may be harming the bee populations. I don't know if there's actually any proof of that, but it is one of those things that sounds logical. I'm not going to get into it. I am not the scientist that would get into that right now. But I do believe this, if there is a product you can use that doesn't have that stigma to it, then you should just use it as long as it works just as well. And it does. Chlorantraniliprole works just as well. So I would make the choice just based on that. But the thing about it is imidacloprid gets into the plant longer but doesn't last as long, or gets into the plant faster but doesn't last as long. So if you use imidacloprid, you can water that in late May, even June, because it's only going to last you through September. But that's okay, because once you're through the end of September, the threat of grubs is gone. They weren't able to eat. By the way those products work is they get into the system of the grub, and in the interest of imidacloprid, the way that works, so it gets into the plant, the grub takes a bite. Well, imidacloprid is and I've explained this before, but I think it's interesting because I think we have a lot of new people in the audience. Imidacloprid is the active ingredient. Let me go back and say that is used to stop grubs. You get that into the soil, you water it in. And by the way, it's used in a lot of other insect controls. Pest control companies use it, things like that. But it gets into the plant. The grub is there. The larva's under the ground. The eggs were laid in June and July. It begins to mature. It develops mouth parts. And the first thing it needs to do is feed. It needs to eat so it can grow. Then it lasts over winter. And then it comes out as that June bug there the next year. That's the grub life cycle. But imidacloprid, the way that works, the type of active ingredient that it is called a neonicotinoid. That's the type of chemical nature or makeup that it is. Now, when you hear that word neonicotinoid, what does it sound like to you? It sounds like nicotine. No, it doesn't sound like cows. It sounds like nicotine, because that's what it is. It's a nicotine type of a chemical. And what does nicotine do? Any of you that were smokers back in my day when I smoked those Camel Wide lights because I wanted to be a cool hippie kid. What is it that nicotine does? Well, it's an appetite suppressant. And that's how it works on the grubs. They take a bite and they feel full and they're like, well, I'm not going to eat anymore. And then they die of starvation. So chlorantraniliprole, I don't know how that works. I've never looked that up. Somebody could tell me. I should probably just look it up, look up the chemical makeup. I don't know what class of chemical it is. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. But when you see brown spots in the lawn, it is not always grubs. And in fact, this time of year, it's not grubs. Now, it could be sod webworm. But I believe for most of you up north, you're probably a little early to be seeing major damage from sod webworm. Sod webworm also will overwinter. If you go to my YouTube channel, The Lawn Care Nut, I did 2 very extensive videos on that, talking about store-bought products you can use to get rid of sod webworm. First of all, how to identify sod webworm. I took you through the life cycle of sod webworm, all the different iterations of it from larva to pupa. I like that word, pupa. But took you through all that, as well as what to spray. And then I also talked about the fact that maybe you don't know if you have sod webworm. You've seen the moths, the adults that don't do damage, but where there's smoke, there's fire. They're going to lay eggs, that kind of thing. So go ahead and treat, because most of the products that we use to take care of sod webworm, i.e. bifenthrin, which is the one I typically recommend just because you can get it in concentrates. It's fairly cheap, very cheap actually. Goes a long way. It's flexible, can be used for a lot of things. It's going to kill the sod webworm, but it'll also kill ants, fleas, spiders, ticks, mosquitoes, a lot of other things. So if you're going to spray the lawn here in the early summer with an insecticide, which I recommend you do, I spray for mosquitoes typically right now. I don't have an ant problem, even though a lot of people do in Florida. I don't have an ant issue. I definitely have an issue with mosquitoes, though. So I'm going to spray anyway. So I'm going to kill 2 birds with one stone, or kill 2 insect problems with one stone. I'm going to kill a pest that damages the lawn, a damaging pest, the sod webworm, but I'm also going to wipe out the mosquitoes over there, which is a nuisance pest. So I figured, why not do both? So that was on the YouTube channel, The Lawn Care Nut. So it could be that if you're seeing brown spots, but I believe for most of you, it's too early. Now, it also could be disease. I got some really cool photos this week from a couple guys. Now, they're not cool to them. They're like, what the heck is going on with my lawn, bro? But me, I look at it, I'm like, this is cool. And I shared these with Matt Martin from Carbon Earth Company. And I shared them with him because I wanted to make sure that the diagnosis I was giving was proper, because these were super cottony. And usually we see mycelium when it comes to disease, but it's rare that someone actually catches it in photos. But again, these weather conditions we've been looking at, where it's just all of a sudden hot, and you have dew on the ground in the morning, and you have humidity on the rise, and the night temperatures are over 65 in a lot of cases. I didn't even look at that in some of these last ones. I didn't even mention nighttime temps. That also matters, not necessarily for the grass being able to handle the heat, but just in general when it comes to disease. Let's just go look at over back by Naperville, Illinois. Oh yeah, see, night temperatures 69, 70, 69, 67, 70. So over 65, that's when you're going to start seeing disease, right? All of those things, that's that disease triangle that comes together. That's, you got to have the host, which is your turf grass. That's always there. You got to have the pathogen, which in the case of Rhizoctonia overbiter, Rhizoctonia brown patch in cool season lawns or large patch in warm season lawns, that's there all the time. It overwinters. And I don't know, I can't think of the dollar spot pathogen, but those got to be there. So that's the third piece. You got to have your host, which is your turf grass. You got to have your pathogen, which is pretty much always there. And you can't stop that, by the way. Birds bring the pathogens in. So, I mean, you know, animals, chipmunks, do you have chipmunks? Skunks, raccoons, they'll bring the pathogen in. So you can't stop that. Everybody wants to blame the lawn service, which, yeah, that stuff rides on lawnmower wheels too, but you can't just blame that. Come in on your shoes, man. You could be walking across the soccer field at your kid's game or whatever, and you could bring it home on your shoes. So that has to be there. And then the third thing is you got to have the right environment. So you got to have the host, you got to have the pathogen. Can't really control those two because you have grass and the pathogen can get in there anyway. But then you got to have the right conditions. You can't control that either because the weather always wins. And in this case, in these cases, it's hot day temperatures with a lot of humidity. Oh, lack of airflow, another one for large patch, for sure, brown patch. And then those night temps over 65. So it could be disease. But the one thing you want to look at, and I'm probably cycling more pictures here, is what do the areas of the lawn that are undamaged look like? And that's what I want you guys to get at. Whenever you see brown spots, okay, play lawn detective. Go to the area of your lawn that is unaffected, that is closest to the area that is affected, and get down on your hands and knees. For some reason, we as DIYers, and I say we because I'll even put myself in that category, we want to admire the lawn from far back, but we don't want to get close to it. And by the way, this goes back into the relationship thing. If you admire your significant other from too back for far long and you don't get close, it's going to cause a problem in that relationship. And it's the same thing with the grass. I'm pointing out my window because I'm looking at my grass out there. Looking at my grass from afar through the window. Yeah, so you got to get up close to it. Get down in there and use your senses. So the first one would be sight, obviously. What do I see on the leaves? Do I see brown spots? What's the shape of the spots? Are they circles? Are they hourglass? Are they splotchy? Is it every blade of grass or only some? Are they yellow? Are they green? You know, what is that? Look down into the base of the grass. What do I see there? Is it slimy? Is it dry? Feel the soil. Is the soil dry? Is the soil very wet? Have we had rain? If the soil is super wet and we haven't had rain and it's the middle of the day and your sprinklers haven't run, you know, that's a clue. You see what I'm doing there? And then go to the areas that aren't and see if you notice anything different. The other sight, so that's the sense of sight and the sense of touch, but sniff. You'll smell. If you smell a sour smell, I love to tell this story. One of the favorite times I ever had at True Green was, you know, and in those, I'm rambling a little bit here, but I think you guys like this. So one of the things that would happen at True Green when I worked there, and I worked there for 15 years, and the way we sold was based on price. So we didn't sell based on the quality of our service. We sold based on the price and how fast we could get out and kill your weeds. So what would happen is when you sell a service based on price, people don't trust you when they have a technical question because you're the price guy. You're not the technical guy. And so what would happen is customers would have problems with their lawn, and most times it was their fault. I'm just going to be really honest with you, okay? True Green, whatever you think of True Green, they're putting down fert and weed control. You're going to get what you get, right? And if there are problems, a lot of time, now again, I'm not saying True Green was perfect, but I'm also not saying that True Green needs to get all the hate that they get either. A lot of times when people, and this goes back to relationships, when people hire out the care of their lawn, they don't put anything into it. This goes back to that thought of being black and white. They're like, oh, True Green's taking care of it. So that means I don't have to care about mowing it properly. I don't have to care about watering it properly. None of that. It's like this hands off. You know, again, it'd be like trying to manage a relationship with your wife by hiring out some of it. You can't do that. You got to be all or nothing, right? It's really hard to balance. Now, you can balance. right? Maybe you can hire out some things. We won't go too far down that road. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're hiring out the spraying and the weed control, as a homeowner, you still have responsibilities for the mowing and the watering. Now, if you hire out the mowing, then you're really hands off, right? And then you're what's totally out of sight, out of mind. And so you're not going to water. You're just not. I'm telling you right now, 95, I'll say 100%, really. I really will. 100% of homeowners that don't have an irrigation system, right, that hire out the mowing and they hire out the fertilization and weed control, they don't do anything to the lawn. They literally do nothing to it. And therefore, the only time they're going to notice it is when it's already terribly in trouble, right? Like bad. All right. So that I think you get what I'm saying. You gotta just because you hire something out, it doesn't mean that your responsibility is completely negated. You still have responsibility to it, especially because it's a living thing and you paid for it. Wow, I went off a rabbit trail on that one. I know, right? I feel like playing some music. But I'll forget where I was at, I think, if I do that. So I went to this lady's house. This is back to the True Green story. And what she said was her lawn was flat and it wasn't looking good and it wasn't growing and it was definitely disease. It was just problems, right? So I went out there, and now this was in like July, I believe, if I'm remembering right. It was definitely in the summer. And I get to the property, and before I knock on the door for a service call, I was the senior ops manager. This was in Maryville. No, it's not pronounced Maryville, Indiana. Shout out to the region. I was the senior ops manager there, and this was I think this was in Cherville, actually, this lawn. But I went out. Before I knock on the door, I always do a quick assessment of the lawn. I actually walk across the lawn. And I started walking across this lawn, and this is what I'm hearing. Under my feet. It is just soaked. And there's actually a sprinkler running. This was about 9 in the morning. It was my first service call. And there's actually a sprinkler running on one end of the house. And everything is wet. There is water going down the street. You can see it. Everybody else, nothing. But her sprinkler's running. So it was 9 in the morning. And there's already water going down the street. And the part of the lawn I'm walking on there isn't a sprinkler. And it's soaked. So I kind of know what's going on at this point, right? So I go up, knock on the door, and she wants to just tell me that our technician did something wrong. He burned the lawn. That's the other thing. She's saying we burned the lawn. Yeah, there was brown spots in the lawn, but it's not fertilizer burn. It's just not. And you guys need to get that out of your heads too. It is not easy to burn a lawn. Trust me, it's not, okay? It's not easy to burn a whole lawn. You can burn spots, but it's not easy to burn a lawn. So with that, she's like telling me we burned the lawn and all of these things. And I know what the problem is. The problem is it's constantly wet. Her lawn has wet feet. It is just rotting beneath the soil because you cannot have a lawn that is constantly wet all the time. They can't do it. Lawns cannot live in a hydroponic environment, right? The soil becomes hydrophobic, I believe is the term, to use a John Perry word, hydrophobic. I think I've heard him use that word more than anyone else in my entire life. But with that, it ruins the soil. The grass is not going to grow. Can't do it. So I don't know how I'm going to convince her of this because remember, she's not going to believe me because we're the company that sells on price. We're just a cheap price. So the only way I could convince her was to pretend to use my sense of taste. Yeah, and that's where I'm bringing this around to, was I took a core. I always used to carry with me a soil probe. Now, soil probes, we use them to take soil samples and everything, but I carried a soil probe because for some reason, when you dig in someone's lawn, they automatically think you're doing something awesome, right? So I always had a soil probe. In fact, what I would do is for customers, because again, remember, most of the service calls that I did for customers, I'm going to say this to back up my True Green friends here, most of the service calls that I did, it was the customer's fault that the lawn looked bad, and usually in the summer, it's because they were not watering. Okay? Just going to say it. Be mad at me if you want. I've seen it. I've walked on thousands and thousands of lawns over by the Chicagoland area in Northwest Indiana, even in Dayton, Ohio, up by Hubar Heights, and down in Springboro. So I've seen a lot of cool season lawns, and they will not believe you. So what I would do is I'd always leave core samples in a baggie on the door if they weren't home, or if they were home, I would take a core sample, and then I would just say a few things. And it was true. You take a core sample, you can tell somebody's not watering. So it wasn't like I was lying, but I was just doing something. They want you to do something. So with this lady, I took the core sample, and of course, it's like a mud ball in my hand. And I'm looking at it, and I start looking at it strange, and sniff it a little bit. There's actually sniffing sounds. I don't have those. But I start sniffing that, and then I make this face, like right after I sniff it. And she's like looking at me like, oh, what's going on? And I got down into the lawn, hands and knees, started sniffing again. Oh, made a funny face, pulled another core, brought it up. I'm looking at it. And she's going, what? What is it? What's going on? I'm just looking at it. And I'm silent. Like I let the silence go way longer than I should. Just let it go. I embellish this story every time I tell it, so just deal with me. So just letting that go. Just sitting there, just looking at it. Disappointed look on my face. Just shaking my head. She's like, what is it? What is it? What is it? All of a sudden, boom. I pop the core in my mouth. And immediately, I spit it out, start coughing. I'm hacking all over the place, which I won't make you deal with that right now, but I'm just hacking, acting like I'm in pain. I'm like, like I'm disgusted. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, ma'am, this soil is so sour. Oh my gosh, it's the most sour soil I have ever tasted. Oh, she's like, it is? I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. She's like, what do I do? I'm like, you got to stop watering. You got to. Please stop watering. Please. And she's like, okay. And she stopped watering right there. She turned it off. And then she let me tell her what to do. Deepen infrequent watering. Start watering every other day. We gotta let this dry out. We got to let this sour flavor just get out of this lawn. A sour lawn is bad. Now, sour lawns is actually a real term you use for when the pH is off. And so I went ahead and put some lime down for her as well, because the other thing that people want you to do is they want to feel like you do something. And I figured, well, I'll throw some lime down. It won't hurt anything. Put it down at like 1 pound per thousand. It will make absolutely no difference. But I'm slinging rocks on the lawn. It's going to make her feel good, right? So not only did I do something by pulling cores and literally smelling and using my senses and eating the core, which I mean, I can smell. You guys know, you ever been like by a rotten pond? That's what her lawn smelled like a rotten pond. You know, she's not going to realize that. She lives with it. She's desensitized to it. Back to relationships, right? She doesn't notice that. She doesn't notice the abuse she's giving her lawn because she does it day after day after day. But she finally noticed it when it started to literally die in front of her. But that's what I told her. And so use your senses when you see those brown spots. And so if I'm looking at these pictures here, these heat stress pictures, you can kind of see like, why are these green spots the way they are versus the brown spots? It's really weird, right? In some cases, there's actually some clues. You can see that the brown spot is by the sidewalk or next to where there's rocks. That's radiating heat. So those areas would dry out faster than the rest of the lawn. Maybe the roots are a little more shallow there because there's rock, underlayment rock or whatever. Maybe there's a slope where the water is running off of the slope and it's not collecting up there. I've seen, around a sprinkler donut head. Around the sprinkler head, it's green, but it's not everywhere else. Could tell me that the irrigation is being blocked or something's not working right or it's leaking or a head is broken. There's all these different clues you can use to play the lawn detective. And that is mostly what I'm seeing right now, is I am seeing stress from heat. And I'm going to give you some clues that you can use to go through that. By the way, back to the disease portion, I'm going to put a little something on the YouTube channel showing those cottony mycelium from the disease that I found and talk a little bit more about what to do when you see that dollar spot or if you see brown patch this time of the year. This podcast and that video are going to kind of relate. So go over to the YouTube channel, The Lawn Care Nut, this weekend probably is when I'll have that up. You can kind of look at that. It'll be a short video I'll be talking through, but I'll also be using that video to promote this podcast. So welcome if it's your first time over here. I hope you're enjoying what you hear. That was kind of heavy. I need a little break. Ooh, I like that. All right, so let me give you some tips here. If you are looking at a super brown, stressed out lawn this time of year, let's go over the watering, okay? So the first thing is, you guys know this, but I'm going to talk about it again. You got to take the Tuna Can Challenge, especially if you have in-ground irrigation. Back to my analogy earlier where I talked about a relationship. If you have something being done for you automatically, you are going to, by nature, neglect that thing. You really are. It's just that it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just the nature, right? It's set and forget. You have so many other things that you're doing. If you think something is handled for you, you tend to get away from it. That's with every relationship. I keep going back to the one with your wife or your husband, but it's the same with your employees at work, right? If you have that employee that is the person that always thinks outside the box, gets ahead, thinks ahead, is proactive, you tend to ignore that person because you're like, oh man, he's got it. Well, what can happen is that person can feel severely neglected very quickly, because those are also people that are usually needing a lot more encouragement from you. So don't forget that. I've learned that a lot over the years in working with people. Those are your best people. You want to actually give them the attention that they need, even though they don't need it. They do. So if you have an in-ground irrigation system, it's definitely important for you to run the Tuna Can Challenge. Now, you guys that do manual sprinklers, you have to move your sprinklers, so you're forced to look at the areas of the lawn that need the sprinkler the most because you have limited time typically. So you have to put the sprinkler where it's needed the most, and so you're really more Johnny on the spot, right? But what you do with the Tuna Can Challenges, and I say the Tuna Can Challenge, is you get yourself some tuna cans, go ahead and eat that tuna. I love tuna. It's one of my favorites. A little tuna with some mayonnaise in there, onion. I like chunky onion in there, maybe even like large pieces of onion. I like to get zapped when you bite into it. And a little celery, a little dill. Yeah, baby. Some good old tuna. By the way, if you're ever in St. Petersburg, Florida, shout out to Williams Subs over by north side of St. Pete over there off of 66th Street over by there, not too far. Park Avenue up that way. Yeah, I think it's Park Avenue, actually. I might be saying where it's at. I just know how to get there. I don't know the numbers. But if you ever ate at Williams Subs, get there. Tuna Supreme, baby. That place has looked the same inside since the 70s when I ate there as a kid. But anyway, Tuna Can Challenge. So you take those tuna cans. The reason I like a tuna can is because it's flat and it has perpendicular sides. And it's about 1.5 inches or 2 inches deep. And you put that out there in the lawn and run a cycle. And you want to learn how long does it take for me to get 1/2 inch of water into that tuna can. Now, if you have an in-ground system, you're going to have to put it in a few spots, even for each zone, because not all of them are going to cover the same. The head might be off. The way the head is adjusted might be differently. And that's what you want to do, is run that Tuna Can Challenge. Now, I like to run the Tuna Can Challenge fresh every year because the sprinklers will change. Things will get knocked around by your lawnmower, whatever. So you need to run the Tuna Can Challenge every year. But what will definitely happen is when you see a spot that is starting to check out on you, go run your Tuna Can Challenge, but put your tuna can in that spot and just see, is it actually getting 1/2 inch of water here? Now, if it is getting 1/2 inch of water, then your next thing you can do, or you could do this right from the jump, is after you run a cycle, is go dig a hole in that area. Use a shovel, or if you have a soil probe, which most of you don't because they're like $400 online for a soil probe. Just kidding, they're like $50 for a soil probe, but crazy. It's one of those things that there's not enough demand for, so it's expensive. But go dig a hole with a shovel. It's fine. After you run your cycle and you think you put down 1/2 inch, go and run that cycle and see how deep that water's getting. You really want that water during the summer to be getting down a couple, 2-3 inches. I mean, if it gets down 4 inches, even better. But at least 3 inches, right? You need that water to get down there and deep. If it's just sitting on the top, what's happening is it's getting evaporated away. So the thing is, you may need to, during these hot times of the year, during the summer, keep with your deep and frequent watering. Water every 2 to 3 days over by there, but instead of running 1/2 inch each time, run 3/4 inch. Maybe you got to do a full inch. Maybe you do. But that's what I would say. Go out and physically test the areas that are brown after a watering cycle. I bet you that will clear up 80% of you listening. I love to use percentages just pulled out of my head here, but a large percentage of you, that is your challenge, is your lawn is just not being watered properly. Because I hear it all the time. People go, well, I water 30 minutes every day, or I leave my zones on for 30 minutes. Listen, guys, and I've written a blog post about this, but I'm going to say it here. I don't care how long you're watering because everybody is different, right? My sprinkler system, my water pressure, my heads, a sprinkler head that is doing a 360 for 30 minutes is not going to lay down as much water in the spots where you have a sprinkler head that's only running a 45. Does that make sense? You got to think of it that way. It doesn't matter on time. Time really matters nothing when it comes to irrigation. Okay? It's about how much water is getting laid down. And by the way, if it takes you 1.5 hours to lay down like 1/2 inch, then you probably just need to adjust your irrigation system, right? So that's the thing to look at. How much water is going down by the inch, and then after a cycle, go stick your finger down into the dirt in those brown spots and see if it's wet or if it's only wet on the surface. That might solve your problem. Now, on the days when it's over 90, as I've said, and I don't think I stressed this enough, I don't care who you are or how conditioned you are, the good majority of you, when your lawn, when the days are over 90 degrees in the high, and it's 90 and there's no cloud cover or very little cloud cover in these longer days, your cool season lawn is going to check out. Now, there are people that won't. There are people that have that good cardio, that good soil, that deep roots. Maybe they've been working on their lawn for a long time. Maybe their lawn, whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons why lawns can make it through. My lawn in Indiana typically would not suffer too bad. I still had to water it every third day, though, for sure. There's videos on my channel where you can see it's in stress, where I let it go for like 5 days, and it went stressed. But as long as I got water, my regular watering schedule every third day, even in the days in the 90s, it wouldn't have problems. So there are those people that have those lawns, that have those challenges. But a lot of y'all that had sod, if you live in a new subdivision that's 6 or 7 years old or less, and you had sod, you're going to have shallow roots. I'm just telling you, you are. It's not your fault. It's not. It's just sod on clay, especially through a lot of the Midwest and even over into the East. Sod on clay, builder throws it down. I've gone through this before. I don't want to start hammering on builders, but man, I mean, you should see the pictures I get from people. They're like, yeah, my builder did this. And I'm like, what do you mean your builder did this? They're like, well, yeah, the builder says this comes with the house. Well, did you? And I asked him what time of grass it is. He doesn't even know. He just throws it down. It's like what they're doing is they're just putting the sod down so you can get your certificate of occupancy. They don't really care anything about it. Well, you're going to have problems with rooting. You really are. And it's going to take you a while. You have to hammer a lot of carbon in there. A lot of the liquid aerate over by there to get that softened up. So you're going to have challenges with your roots, right? So that's just one of those things. So when it's over 90, your lawn's going to want to check out. The way you can help that from happening is stick with that watering. I said, don't start watering deep every day. Stick with the deep, infrequent watering. But on the days when it's super hot, go out in the middle of the day and give it a little water. This is a time thing. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It's a cooling down. Just like you, man. What are you doing when you're out in the middle of the day and it's hot? Sometimes you go turn the hose on and just get your hair wet for real quick, and it just cools you down. You put a cool towel on your neck, right? So you put a little cool towel on your neck, right? That's what you do. It just cools you down. Do the same thing with the grass. They do this on golf courses. It's called syringing. Heck, golf courses have, they have fans out there that they have come on periodically, to keep their greens cool. Nothing wrong with that. There's a big myth out there. I have no idea who started this, that lawns will burn if you water them in the middle of the day because the sun reflects through the drops of water and burns the lawn. That's one of those things. It's like it's a conventional wisdom, I guess you call it. It sounds logical, but it is completely false. You're not going to burn your lawn. Every one of you where you live, there's been pop-up thunderstorm in the middle of the afternoon, but you don't see the news doing stories. Hey, look at this. We got a pop-up thunderstorm and 700 lawns burned. And, it doesn't happen. Here in Florida, it rains every afternoon, and we have 95-degree temperatures and blaring sun, completely cloud-proof in the sky, and there are no mass lawn scorchings here either from rain. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's not going to promote disease, everything. It's going to actually evaporate off, and even the evaporation helps to cool the lawn. So that's another thing to think about there. Of course, I have a call here in 10 minutes. I may have to cut this off, and oh boy, every computer in here is giving me the reminder. Another thing you can do, hydrotain. Hydrotain can assist. Hydrotain is not a safety. It's not going to, again, it doesn't help your lawn when it's over 90. It doesn't help it to not feel stress. But what it does do is it just helps keep a little bit more moisture near the roots. So it's a helper, but it's not going to be a miracle. Potassium. Potassium is another one of those. Potassium does definitely help during stress. It helps the lawn maintain turgor pressure or turgor. I think it's turgor pressure, which is has to do with the flow of water in between the cell membrane. It helps to keep that from going flaccid is the right term. And that's a funny term if you want to use it in another context, but keeps the lawn from looking wilty. But it's not a cure-all. It's not 90-degree temperatures are still going to stress that lawn. Just good potassium availability is going to help the lawn through recovery from the 90-degree temperatures. I like humic acid. So listen, I'm going to tell you something here. What I used to do years ago whenever I found a problem in a cool season lawn is I bombed it with nitrogen. I didn't care what it was. I was like, I'm just going to bomb through this, man. That was my strategy. Or starter fert fixes everything. I give it NPNK, right? I've said that before. Starter fert fixes everything, and I still believe that to a certain degree. man, when you're starting off and your lawn is just completely bad, just whack it with starter fert and hope for the best, right? Sure, I want you to get a soil test. We'll talk about all that, down the road. I want you, but I gotta show you something. I need you to see some results. I need you to see something. And a starter fert, it's kind of like a blanket, it's just like a carpet bomb. Well, I used to believe that with nitrogen too. Just hammer it with high nitrogen. If you're in spring and fall, just hammer your lawn, and you're going to get results. Listen, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. If you hammer your lawn in spring and fall, cool season, or really warm season in the summer, if you hammer it with nitrogen, you're going to see something. Okay? You're going to see something. May not be the best thing to do all the time, but you're going to see some results, right? You're going to see some green up. You're going to see something. And that's going to encourage you to study more and learn more and get further down the road. Okay, it's like when you're in a fight with your spouse, with your wife. What do? I'm gonna give her roses. Roses fix everything. Not all the time though. You can't do that too many times, right? You can't disparage her and make her feel like garbage and then expect roses to fix it. But the first couple 2-3 times you get in a fight, the roses will fix it real fast, right? That's what nitrogen is. Now I'm starting to believe though that humic acid is that. So you're not gonna see me do things on my YouTube channel about this necessarily. Maybe you will. I don't know, but I just think that humic acid is one of those things, like when in doubt, paint it black. You can blame the man whose name is Brad over at Greene County for that. He's the one that taught me about that, but I've been doing that, man. I see a brown spot, I paint it black. My business partner, Josh, we're going to do a video. I'm going to be in Bozeman, and he's been painting black dog spots. He's got a beautiful dog. It's a Weimaraner. A Weimaraner? Oh, wait, hold on. I got a sound effect for that. And Remy, the Weimaraner, he kills lawns, man. That's what he's good at. He's cute as can be, though, let me tell you. So he's been doing a little cocktail painting it black over by there, and the results we're seeing are incredible. So I believe humic acid, and it's just carbon for the soil is what it is. It just gets down in there, it kicks up the soil, gets things moving. So I think, I don't want to say I know, but I've seen other things through our groups and what people have done, as some of the experiments that John Perry's run that he hasn't necessarily run on purpose, but where they put a lot of humic acid in the fields where their plant is, and some of the things you can see happening there and not happening in other places where it wasn't. But humic acid has this way of waking up a tired lawn or helping a tired lawn. It's a chelator. I also noticed when I put humic acid on the lawn when it's starting to look tired, when I've been through, like I'm at like that 35 to 40 day mark after I've put down Milo and things are looking tired. When I hammer the lawn with humic acid, I get a green up. It like flushes more color into the lawn. So I do believe that humic acid is one of those things that you can use to help yourself through these times. And also you can put it down when there's very high heat. Last thing I'm going to tell you here, and then I'm going to take a break from my call and then come back and keep going on this podcast because I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you guys are. The next thing I want you to think about, put a little music on here. The next thing I want you to think about is to switch your mowing to the evenings. I've actually never talked about this before, but it makes sense, right? If you're mowing in the heat of the day, which many of us have to do, and the lawn is stressed, it's probably not the best thing, is it? Why not mow in the evening? Have you ever noticed how your lawn can look stressed during the day? You don't get to water it or anything, but you come back the next morning and it's perked up a little bit. It's gotten a little bit of a break. That's like that time between rounds. It got its neck iced a little bit, right? So mow in the evenings on the lawn, maybe even the early mornings if your neighbors can stand it. Maybe that'll help you out a little bit. So those are some tips right there. I'm going to give you some more when I come back here, talking about what you can and can't do or shouldn't do during these massive heat blasts that you get. This is Lawns Across America. Thanks for listening. I'll be back shortly.
I know you feel it too, something beyond life, something we'll never get, just like the movies, something I've never felt. When I'm with you, my world turns into something else. It's the strangest feeling, longing hurts like hell. And this taste of
All right. Okay, I'm back. Well, so it's only been like 2 minutes for you guys. Maybe not even 2 minutes, depending how I edit this. But had a good call. Looking for some new vendors on a yard mastery over by there. So if you're a small company making cool stuff, big boxes are locking you out, we're looking for you on yard mastery. So, okay, so when we left off there, by the way, did you like that song I kind of went out with? I got to say, any song that has a saxophone solo in it, I got to get behind that. And I get all that music off Epidemic Sound. I can't remember if I said that, but I really like what they have over there. So all you fellow YouTubers out there, don't start using that, though, because I went there because I can get my own music over there. I really like picking music. I pride myself on the music I pick and creating a certain feel in my videos. So, all right, with all the stuff that I had talked about previously that you can do to your lawn when it's hot to try to help it get through, the one thing I want to get across is none of that is going to turn it bright green or make it look like it did in the spring. We have to realize that the way your lawn looks in summer is not going to be the way it looks in the spring. It's just not. It's so I don't want you to think that any of that is going to turn it around or make a miracle recovery out of it. Those are all things that you're just using to get through those 90s. Now, there are going to be times, now I say that, who knows how this summer's going to go. It looks like it's going to be a pretty hot one, but there is going to be times in the summer when you're going to get cooling off periods. You might get 2 or 3 weeks where you get a reprieve and you're in the high 70s and the lawn does start to kind of bounce back and come back and look normal, look better, look like it did in the spring. And that's fine. That's why you need to, as a good corner man, put ice on its neck. You know, get the cut man in there. Give it some things it needs. Give it a little Gatorade, maybe. Give it some things that are going to help it to make its way through these tough periods, so that way when you do get to the nicer times, then things can kind of level off. Now, one thing I want to say real quick, the one thing we don't want to do when the lawn is under stress in the 90s is apply fertilizer. Now, let me caveat that just a little bit. Obviously, if you have these stress blend fertilizers that are high in, and again, I'm mostly talking to cool season lawns here. Please understand that. Warm season friends, I know. Please just listen for fun. You guys have stress too. Here, look, there's a stressed out St. Augustine grass lawn right there. See that one? I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But what I want you to realize, cool season guys and girls, you have these summer stress blend fertilizers. They do have a little bit of nitrogen in them. They have usually some iron, a lot of potash. Those aren't going to make your lawn turn green overnight either. They're just helping it through. But you can put those fertilizers down. However, I really don't recommend really fertilizing at all on the day when it's in the 90s. Just wait. It's not going to be where most of you guys live. It's not going to be 91, 92 for 4 or 5 straight weeks. It'll only be for 3 or 4 days. Just wait. Why not just give it that 3 or 4 days and wait till it gets into the 80s and then fertilize that day, right? Obviously continuing with that watering. But one thing you don't want to do is use a high salt content fertilizer with tons of nitrogen. Really, you don't want to push high nitrogen at all during these times. If you have something that has lower nitrogen, high potash is fine. Organic type stuff, natural stuff with carbon in it, biochar, we love that word. A lot of controversy around the word biochar in the community lately. I was like playing basketball with kindergartners in some cases. But for sure, you know, things like that are fine. Things that aren't going to push a ton of growth. Things that are going to be for the soil. Humic acid I mentioned, awesome. You can put that down. But even that, why put that down when it's 90 degrees? Why even walk on the lawn when it's 90 degrees? Just give it a break, right? Just let it chill. It's like if you're in a marathon and think of you when you're out one day mowing and you've all mowed or done yard work. Let's not talk about mowing. Let's just talk about yard work. Maybe you got to cut a tree down. So you're out cutting a tree down, or maybe you got to build a retaining wall, or maybe you're doing some kind of heavy labor, landscaping, right? Or laying a patio. And there's going to be that time where it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and it's super hot and you've been out all day and maybe you've been drinking water, but you're just exhausted. You're going to gut it out though. You're going to get through it. I personally love to work in the heat, but I was born and raised here in Florida. I love the humidity. People run from it. I love it. I prefer to do my work in the middle of the afternoon when it's hot. Now you move slow like a turtle, but I kind of like that. It's just what I'm used to and it's what I like doing. I like to sweat it out. I like to gut it out. The thing about that is, though, when you're in that period, sometimes you're drinking water. The last thing you want to do, though, is eat a steak when you're like that. Now, you're going to eat the steak later. You're going to go in and you're going to take a shower and you're going to cool down a little bit. You can sit down, maybe have a cold brew, right? You're gonna obviously put in some electrolytes. You're gonna maybe drink a little Pedialyte or whatever you like. Get yourself rehydrated real nice. Start up the grill, and that's when you're gonna have that steak. You're gonna wait. And that's the same thing with the lawn. Don't hammer it with a bunch of high nitrogen right on its heaviest point. The other thing is when you're doing that work, if the kids come out and they're like, "Hey, Dad, let's play football," you're like, "Listen, bro, I've been working all day here. I'm dead. I'm tired. We'll play football later, or we'll go crazy later. We'll do other things, strenuous things later. We'll run a 5K tomorrow," right? When you're in the middle of that stressful period from heat and exhaustion, and the sun is beating on you, you don't want to eat heavy meals, and you don't want to really do anything else except just get through it, just gut it out. And so that's why I say keep the foot traffic off the lawn too. Now, I say that 4th of July, you're going to be using the lawn. I get it. All right, that's fine. But for the most part, if you can, keep foot traffic on the lawn. Don't mow the lawn when it's hot. Don't do anything. Just leave it alone. Give it a cooling little bit of water. Give it a shower. Give it a little cool off. But let it gut it out. Let your lawn gut it out and make it through. And then, mow in the evening, fertilize in the evening if you need to with low nitrogen fertilizer, slow play it through. By the way, biostimulants always are good. You can always put down biostimulants. But again, I caution you, just don't do it in the heat of the day. Not that it's going to hurt anything, but why? It just doesn't make sense. Just give the lawn a break. Let it chill. Let it chill. Help it chill. Give it water for a cool down, and that's about it. Now, let's talk about summer dormancy, and then we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. I think I have some music for rapid fire questions, so I want to get that ready to go. All right, here. All right. So let's talk about here. Maybe I should give this a little, let's give this a little music here. Ready? All right. What about that summer dormancy, Al? Yeah, summer dormancy. All right. I think I'll get better with that, working the board. I'm also going to get a better setup. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably see me keep messing with the mic here. If anybody has a recommendation for a better one of these arms that holds the mic, I was over at, I think it was at WFLA. I want to shout out to the Bug Girl on Instagram. Take a look at her Instagram. She runs a radio show here in the Tampa Bay area over by here. She took that from her father. She works for ABC Pest Control, and her dad, Mark, he passed away. He ran that Florida gardening for many, many years, and that's his daughter. She took that over. She has an awesome Instagram, though. If you want to learn about all bugs and stuff, she posts some really fun stuff on Instagram. Anyway, when I was there, I've been on that radio show a couple times when her dad, Mark Govan, when he ran it, and the thing they had at WFLA was these really nice like arms that were really long, and you could throw them around, and they were on good swivels. And so if anybody can, I've searched, and I don't even know what these are called. So I don't know how to search for a professional one, but I haven't been able to find one online. This is an Amazon one, a cheapie, and I don't like it. So if somebody can ping me and recommend a good professional, like they use at radio stations, like Man-Cow Muller, he's a beer rat, like that, what a Man-Cow Muller would use. Does anybody even know who that is anymore? I need something good, something from the radio. I have a good mic here. It's a Shure mic. Is that how you pronounce it? Shure. It's probably pronounced some weird way, but anyway, I need a recommendation on that. But I don't even know how I got on that. All right, summer dormancy. Oh, how I'm going to get a soundboard. That's what I was saying. Real quick. So I am going to do better. I'm going to get a stand-up desk. I'm actually on an Ace bucket right now with this. I'm going to get a stand-up desk that I can move around, roll around, put the whole board on, and really be able to turn this into something better. Okay, let's talk about summer dormancy. So what can happen is if you either got to your lawn too late, let's say you hit these 90s and you've been out of town, because a lot of people go out of town for Independence Day weekend, or you come back from an extended work trip or whatever, or you're just busy and you didn't notice that your lawn was going dormant, and it happens to go past the steely gray blue. Again, cool season lawns. If it goes past the steely blue phase and it starts to turn brown and you're not able to bring it out, you don't have the wherewithal, because if you want to bring it out of that, you got to water every day for a good week or so and to bring it out. But if you can't do that and it goes dormant, it's okay. To have your lawn go summer dormant is fine. It's a defense mechanism, just like it goes dormant in the winter. The reason it goes dormant in the winter is because it's defending itself against extreme temperatures. It's just at that time it's extreme low temperatures, and it does it in the summer the same thing. It realizes, hey, I can't grow over 90. I just can't do it. You're not helping me with watering and cool downs and and that. So the sun's beating on me. I'm just going to go defense mechanism. Now, if you do that, it's okay. It's fine to let your lawn go summer dormant. And if this happens to be one of those summers where we're also in a drought situation, it may happen. The thing about that is you still need to give it 1/2 inch of water per week. That's it. That will not turn it green. But what that does is it gives it enough to keep the crowns alive. The crown of the grass will still be alive, the crown of the grass plant. It won't show, it won't look green, you won't see anything. It will still be alive, but they've got to have, grass does have to have at least 1/2 inch of water a week during the summer, even if it's dormant, or it will begin to have dieback. Now, I don't want to give you time frames because everybody's a little different depending on where your turf was, as to how tough your summer is, as to what your soil looks like. But it takes a good 60 to 70 days or so of zero rain and heat to really sustain major damage. But you'll start seeing damage after a month. If your lawn doesn't get any rain at all or any water at all outside of dew, if it doesn't get any of that for 30 days, it'll start to have some damage, some lasting damage to it. So it is okay to let it go summer dormant, but don't bring it out of dormancy. Once it's there, I don't recommend you try to bring it out. You can, but if you're still in the 90s and the 80s, that's a really tough proposition. It's better to let it happen in the fall when it's going to do it naturally, when you have shorter days, less sunlight, more rain, cooler temperatures prevailing. Let the lawn wake up on its own and go back into that second camel hump, and you can make some good gains at that point. Now, the one thing that will happen, though, if you let your lawn go dormant, is the crabgrass will come. Crabgrass is one of those things where it's like, bruh, I got 1 year to live. I'm going for broke. It's going to hammer in. It doesn't care if there's no rain. It doesn't care if it's bright sun. It doesn't care. It's got one life to live, and it's going to live it hard because it only gets to live that life for like 4 months, right? It comes up in the summer. You got August, September, October, and it's done in November when you get your first frost. It's gone. It drops its seeds. Its job is to grow, drop seeds, and die. That's it. And it will go for broke. It's got way more energy than your grass does. Your grass has to kind of realize, hey, I got to be here for the long haul. If I'm going back to some Simon Sinek, because I love to use Simon Sinek analogies, it's playing that infinite game. Your grass is going to be there forever. Whereas the crabgrass, it's playing that short game. It's playing to win the game today. And it'll seem like it is, but it's going to die, and your turf will still be there for years to come. So you will see, if your grass goes dormant, if your good turf goes dormant, you're going to see the crabgrass coming in there. And you can still spray quinclorac on that. Just read the label, but I'm pretty sure you're good to spray that on dormant grass. And keep that crabgrass down. Get to it early, because once it gets past the second, third tiller stage, it's really hard to kill at that point. Then you also risk the fact that it could start dropping seeds. So limit your ability to walk on that dormant grass too. You don't want to crispity crunchy it, just the same as in the winter. So a lot of different things to consider. Weeds will still grow though in dormant lawns. So I don't think most of you listening to this are going to let your lawn go dormant, but if you do, it's okay to live to fight another day. That'd be the fighter that decides he's got to lay down and give it up for this fight. But you can come back from that. A lot of fighters do. So all right, where are we at here? Let's go to some rapid fire questions, and let's hit the... That's not the right one. No. I don't know. Maybe I think I totally messed that up. But here we go. Ready? Let's get into some rapid fire lawn questions. What's coming in this week? Oh, I probably just blew all your ears out. What's coming in this week? What can we do? Here's the questions that give you the answers that you need. I don't know. Maybe that's not... I don't think that's the right music. It's good music, though. Hear that? Those strings in there? Strings on the backbeat? Oh, there it is. Okay, it is a punch. All right, I'll get some theme music in there eventually. We'll see. All right. Everything good here? Let's go back. No, I'm going to need that in a minute. Okay. So these are just some quick ones I get. Now, a lot of these are sometimes about products, and some of these I'm going to use because we'll put them in other places. We'll use them for Yard Mastery customer service. But one that we get a lot is can I use the Biostimulant package on my vegetable garden? And the answer is yes, but you don't really need to use everything that's in there. If I had a vegetable garden, or I was recommending for your vegetable garden, the things in the Biostimulant pack that you're going to want to use are the Humic 12, which is the humic acid, and the microgreen. You probably won't need the Aerate. In fact, I'm positive most of you aren't going to need the Aerate. And the RGS, you don't need that either. You're not going to need the sea kelp or anything like that. You don't need to push any extra shoots and roots for a vegetable garden. But the humic acid is great. It's going to be great for the soil. It's going to help to chelate nutrients that are there. Most of you, your garden soil is good. A lot of you are tilling in good garden soil. So adding in the humic acid is just going to help those that organic material to be broken down and used more efficiently by your different vegetable plants that you have in there. And then definitely the microgreen will give you a nice stack of micronutrients that are just going to help. There is some sea kelp in that, which is again why you don't need to use the RGS. Now, for both of those, I would use the humic 12. What I would do is I would take a 5-gallon bucket and I would put 3 ounces of humic 12 in there, and I would dump that around the base of the plants. And depending how big your garden is, you might need to do 3 or 4 bucketfuls. But I would put that around the base of the plants, and I would do that every other week. And then on the other weeks, I would do the microgreen at 3 ounces per 1,000. You see, it doesn't take a lot, or 3 ounces, per 5-gallon bucket. You don't have to fill the 5-gallon bucket up all the way. Just fill it up. Just fill it up like 3/4 of the way. Put 3 ounces of the microgreen in there. Get it all stirred up, and just dump that around the base of your plants. So you're doing that every 2 weeks, and then you're doing the humic 12 same way every 2 weeks. 3 ounces and 3 ounces. That's all you have to do. That's going to be plenty. However, I would also recommend that you look at some Flora-Green, because the Flora-Green is going to have the nitrogen and the potash in there. It will also have a little bit of sea kelp in there, but it'll also have a little bit of iron. So the Flora-Green is the missing piece. Sure, the microgreen is going to be great for you, as well as the humic 12 is going to be great for you, the humic acid, but I would put some Flora-Green in there too. Same thing, 3 ounces in a 5-gallon bucket, fill it up, and dump it around the root balls every other week or so. If you kind of keep that, and you can mix those all together, you can do it all at once if you want to, because you're in a big bucket, you're fine. But that's kind of what I would look at. But if you're just wanting to use stuff from the Biostimulant Pack, by all means, the humic 12 and the microgreen are going to be great for you. All right, here's another one, and this is a fun one. This is one that comes up quite a bit, and one we should go over. And it says, I have just gotten my Biostimulant Pack. Is it okay to mix them all together? Okay. So what's in the Biostimulant Pack? The Biostimulant Pack comes with microgreen, 1 gallon. By the way, it's 4 gallons and it's about $100. 4 gallons for $100. The reason I say that is because there are a lot of comparables, and I'm using air quotes there, comparable products on Amazon where 1 gallon costs you $45. So you're looking at $90 for 2 gallons. We sell you 4 for about $100. Paying a lot of Amazon fees there. And by the way, just the way, so you guys know the way shipping works, it costs almost the same amount to ship 1 gallon as it does 4. You can ask UPS and FedEx why they do that. They have algorithms. They kind of know what works. I mean, I see quarts being sold for $25 where I can give you 4 gallons. A quart is 32 ounces. A gallon is 128 ounces. So you can buy 4 quarts, 4 times 32 for $100, or you can get 4 gallons, 4 times 128 for $100. Just saying, just one of those things to think about. I know Amazon is convenient, but you're paying a lot of extra fees there. But anyway, back to the Biostimulant Pack. So in the Biostimulant Pack, you have 4 things. You have Aerate, you have RGS, you have Microgreen, and then the last thing that you have is the humic 12. The RGS is really the staple of that line. It's higher humic acid, it's got fulvic acid in it, as well as the sea kelp. It's kind of the everyday, all day for the lawn. That is one of those things I recommend you apply monthly at 3 ounces per 1,000. Mark that down. Humic 12, it's also one of the base layers of the line, but it's the highest concentration of the humic acid, so it's one that'll go down heavier, and I recommend you do that just 4 times a year, so once per quarter at 6 ounces per 1,000, okay? And then you have the Aerate. You could pretty much use that anytime you want, but if you just kind of stick with what traditionally people think about with aeration, this is a liquid aeration, and yes, it works. It chemically breaks bonds in the soil, which creates air, okay? So think of that when you typically would use aeration, which would be spring and fall. So what I would do with that one is a spring and a fall application. And then the last one is the microgreen. I would use microgreen whenever you feel like you want a push of green color, especially in the summer. One of the things that you can apply in the summer are micronutrients. In fact, micronutrients are always good in the summer. So for sure, save that one for summer when you want to get a push of green, but you don't want to push nitrogen and you don't want to get a push of growth. Mix them up like that. Don't mix them all together. The reason I say don't mix them together is it can get a little thick. The mix can get thick. Now, how thick? Well, if you're using a pump sprayer where you're going to have a couple gallons of water in there, or if you're using a backpack where you have 4 gallons of water in there and you're putting the concentrates in there, as long as you put water in first, you can mix them all together and your sprayer will probably do fine. Backpack sprayers, 2-gallon pump sprayers are probably going to do fine. I'm still telling you not to mix them together, but if you have to, that's the way to do it. However, that orthodilin spray, do not mix anything together in there. It's too much thick stuff to go through that. Do one product at a time. And if you think, well, man, that means I got to do 4 apps in one day. No, just do like I just told you. Spread them out. Aerate in the spring and fall. Humic 12 once per quarter. microgreen in the summer when you feel like you want a green push, and do RGS monthly. Spread them out that way. Don't put them all down together on the same day, and don't mix them all in the same tank of the orthodilin spray. Just don't do it. It's not a good idea. It's going to cause you frustration because, yes, all of the products are thick. The microgreen, it does have a little bit of micro grit in there. And so if you mix that with everything else, it just compounds all of that thickness. And the orthodilin spray, it's a $10 piece of equipment. It's not made to suck all that through. Remember, these are professional products. They're used by professionals. They do work for us, but you definitely can't bomb it all in. Now, I have a 25-gallon pull-behind sprayer that I use from AgriFab that I use at my bigger lawns. I dump all kinds of stuff in there, but it's 25 gallons of water, so it's a thinner mix, and it's also just higher quality. It has a pump on the top of it that's run by the battery. It's got thicker lines. It's got better. It's better overall. All the hoses are much thicker. There's no small openings. I'll have to show you on the orthodilin spray. I'm going to do a video on it this week on how to mod it, because you still should modify it the way we show you. But I'll show you how we mod it, and I'll break it down and show you the little hole that stuff has to go through. That'll probably help you. So make sure you check out the lawncarenut.com for that. But in a nutshell, do not mix them together. Just don't do it. You don't have to get everything down in one bombed application. You don't have to try to fix the lawn today. I've said this before. We're not farmers. Farmers do all of their fertilizing and everything in the spring, because once their corn is so tall, they can't really apply anything else to the soil. So they have to do it all before the corn gets too tall, which means they do these giant miracle applications in the spring. That's not us. Your lawn is there forever, and it's never more than 4 inches tall. So you can always be applying things to it. So don't think you have to put everything you bought down right today and get it all in there. No, do it over time. Let things go. Let things work their way in as they go. So don't mix all those together. Don't do it. It'll save you some headaches. Okay, here's a good one for you. This is let's see. This is one that's kind of about summer. I just received my Stress X from Yard Mastery. It's going into the 90s for several days. I water regularly, just wondering if it's safe to apply the fertilizer in these temps. Yeah, so again, cool season lawns. I kind of mentioned this before, but this is a question that relates to that. Yes, you could apply that on the 90-degree day. It's not going to hurt anything, but I just don't. Just don't walk on the lawn during that 90-degree day. I know I already kind of went through that, but I figured I would say that again. Stress X isn't going to burn anything. People are always worried about their lawn burning. Your lawn isn't going to burn, okay? It's not. If you put down a double application of Carbon X and you put it down evenly, you're not going to burn anything. Now, if you spill a pile of it, then yes. But see, there's a big difference in that. So don't always think about your lawn burning. But again, think about what's smart. It's not smart to give it that steak on a day when it's super hot. So I would just wait if you can. If you can't, go ahead, throw the Stress X down. I just don't necessarily recommend it. All right, here's one for warm season. Hi, Alan. My name is Benny. I need your help. I live in Southwest Florida. A section of my lawn is Floratam, so that's a St. Augustine grass, and it has torpedo grass, and it seems that it is getting worse by the day. How do I get rid of it or control it? Benny, my brother, I feel your pain, man. So torpedo grass is one of those scourges that we have here in Florida. I think it's mostly in Florida. The thing about it is it has these long rhizomes. It will crawl under the street and show up in your neighbor's house. It will crawl under your house. There is no way to keep it out. I actually talked to a lawn guy that he had a customer that had him dig out his driveway and dig out all his lawn and all of this, and they put these giant, I guess they use stainless steel, but they got these thin rolls of stainless steel, and they put it 3 feet down to surround his lawn, all around his driveway, all around everything, to try to act like a barrier. They do that for bamboo. That was the idea. They do it for bamboo. Bamboo is also quite invasive, so they have these ways where you can put these steel barriers, or some of them might be plastic or whatever, but you put it around the bamboo and it keeps it contained so it won't spread. Well, he tried to do that same thing to keep torpedo grass out of his lawn, and the torpedo grass was still back within 2 days. It just burrowed deeper and underneath. 2 years. It burrowed underneath and just came through. Or even sometimes, even if a little shred of it is left, that's all it takes to grow. So torpedo grass is a scourge. Here's the thing, Benny. There is no way to kill it in your St. Augustine grass, in your Floratam St. Augustine grass. There's nothing you can do. There's no chemical you can spray on the torpedo grass that won't also harm your Floratam at the same time. Now, one thing that does kill torpedo grass, okay, is glyphosate. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in the old school Roundup. It's the one that everybody has problems with, but we're not going to get on that right now. Just wear your PPE. You're going to be fine. You're not you're not a lawn pro that's spraying it every day. You're not bathing in it. You might have to spray it a couple times a year. You wear PPE and you don't get it on you anyway. That's the whole thing about PPE. People think, oh, well, I'm wearing PPE, but that's great. But when I spray, I don't get stuff on me, especially when I'm spot spraying. I wear the PPE because you're supposed to and because it's on the label, but it doesn't get on my shoes when I'm spot spraying. It doesn't get on my hands. It doesn't get anywhere. PPE is just there for if it does spill on you. So just think about that. Don't spill it. But that will kill it. However, that will also kill your Floratam, and the torpedo grass likely would rage back faster. So in the past, what we told people was, well, just every 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 years, whenever the torpedo grass gets real bad, you have to kill everything off and just resod, and then you'll have another few years without it until it comes back or whatever. But there is a solution now, and it's called Scots Pro Vista St. Augustine grass. And they are a sponsor. They're not sponsoring this podcast or anything like that, but they've sponsored me in the past. I work with them. The main grower is here in Arcadia, Florida, Bethel Farms. And the thing about Scots Pro Vista St. Augustine grass is it is a GMO. It is a genetically modified organism, just like Roundup Ready corn. It is Roundup Ready St. Augustine grass. You can spray glyphosate on it. It will not harm the St. Augustine grass. So I have it in my backyard, and I have a little skosh of it in my front yard where I've been working on it for a long time now, 3 years. And I have sprayed really heavy glyphosate on it, and it kills all the torpedo grass, and it does not even phase the Pro Vista. So that's your option. By the way, you can also use that same strategy to get rid of wild Bermuda that invades your St. Augustine grass, which is another problem we have here. So if you're looking to have clean St. Augustine grass, that's what I recommend you do, Benny, is wait till you can't stand it anymore. Go ahead and scrape it all out and hire someone, or you can do it yourself, and get some Scots Pro Vista St. Augustine grass. And then you'll be able to use glyphosate. By the way, that will be all you need. I don't necessarily know if they want to market it that way, but you won't really have to use pre-emergence anymore. You're not going to have to use any other weed controls. The glyphosate is very cheap, and it will keep everything cleaned up. Now, the Scots folks do still recommend to use pre-emergence, but, I mean, why would you? Unless you had, like, a major problem with doveweed, because doveweed is not affected by glyphosate. So if you had that, you would still need to use pre-emergence, but you should be able to reduce pretty much everything else that you're using and just go only to the glyphosate. The other thing about the Pro Vista is it's a deeper, darker blue-green color, no joke. And it also is a slower grower. Tee-hee-hee. Let's hear it for those slower growers. Yeah. It is a slower grower, and when I say it's a slower grower, what I mean is they've bred it to grow slow. I let mine go for like a month, and it barely grows an inch and a half. So that, Benny, is your best choice. I know that's a big nut there. You got to crack that, but it might be worth something saving up for and thinking about for the future. Okay, there was a few rapid fire questions for you guys, and I got one more here. A little story here we got from Jez over by Sanford, Florida. Let's talk through it. I got some pictures that are going to go with this one, so I'm going to put this one on YouTube. Now, this goes back to similarly what we've been talking about here with our warm season turf, or with our cool season turf and heat stress. Now, warm season turf gets stressed by heat too. It loves the heat, but it's got to have water to support it. The thing about our grasses is they are definitely what I call alpha grasses. They really are. They grow with rhizomes and stolons. They take over. You guys that have cool season lawns, I love you. But you really have no clue what's going on down here. And I see this all the time. People move down here from Illinois. They get an email to me. They're like, oh my God, I had the most beautiful grass when I was up over by Illinois. I moved down to you guys. I'm like lost. Everything I thought I knew is out the window. And that is true because the growth habit of our grass here is so different and has to be treated differently, as well as, again, the times when it does best are different. It's the exact opposite. Warm season grass does the best in the summer. But because they're alpha grasses, they spend a lot of time charging and taking ground and destroying everything in their path. I mean, St. Augustine grass will choke you. If you lay in it long enough, it'll grow around your neck and choke you like a constrictor. In fact, I call it that, the stolen constrictor. Should make a t-shirt, stolen constrictor. But I will tell you that it requires a lot of support. It requires a lot of nitrogen to be able to continue. Just like any athlete, if you think about athletes, you know, athletes that are runners, long-distance runners, they require a lot of carbs, man. They'll eat straight carbs, right, to keep themselves going during their 100-miler. And that's what St. Augustine, Bermuda, those are 100-milers. Then you got the zoysia. They're more like power lifters. Zoysia and even centipede to an extent, they're power lifters. They grow a little slower, but they're strong when they come on. Zoysia especially, holy cow. Zoysia, I think a centipede, what is a good analogy of sports for centipede? I think centipede is, do I want to say it's more like a relief pitcher? I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't want to offend my centipede brothers and sisters. You guys You need a lot of potassium for your lawns. I like centipede. I've seen beautiful centipede before. You just got to be careful how hard you push it. But let's go back to zoysia. Zoysia is a power lifter. It may not have a lot of speed, but holy cow, when it gets a hold of you, you're done. That's zoysia. Bahia grass. I should say Bahia grass. Sorry, I had to do that. I don't know why I missed that opportunity there. I actually am really starting to like Bahia. I have a spot over at my church. I've been messing with some Bahia. Haven't put any of that on video because I'm just messing around with it. But I'll tell you what, it's not bad grass when you treat it right. When you give it a little bit of love, it's got a face even a lawn care nut can love. So Bahia, I don't necessarily know if I have a certain athlete that I would equate you to. I didn't put a lot of thought into that. It just kind of came up. But our alpha grasses, back to it, the St. Augustine, the zoysia for sure too, the Bermuda, no doubt. Those, they need a lot of water. Otherwise, they can check out quick. And in fact, they'll check out faster because they put so much energy here into the summer into running hard. When they don't get water, they crash fast. They are kind of like that fighter that didn't plan for the 5-rounder that's only fought 3-rounders, and he gets into those later rounds and something goes wrong and he's done, got nothing. He's not Nate Diaz, whose cardio just never seems to stop. So that's what this is. Here we go. Ready? Let's listen to Jez here. I got some music for this one. You like that, Jez? Jez down in Sanford. It's for you, buddy. That's Jez's dog barking. All right, here we go. Hello, Alan. First of all, thank you for everything that you do for us. The DIYers and the constant feedback to improve our lawn skills. I purchased a brand new home 3 years ago with new St. Augustine sod in Sanford, Florida. By the way, Sanford, home of Sunnyland. During that time, I enjoyed your YouTube channel. I was so pumped because we both lived in Florida. We had the same grass, and I said to myself, I will have the best looking grass in the entire neighborhood. What could go wrong if I had the same grass as you, Alan? I just need to follow your recommendations and that's it. Well, unfortunately, I cannot mimic the same results that you have. I can't even mimic the same results that my neighbors have, and they have a professional lawn maintenance company. I've watched almost every video of yours, listened to every podcast from your YouTube channels, and you've taught me so much, and I'm grateful for that. I've been keeping track of everything that I do, but I'm still having issues with my lawn, and I have no clue what's going on. I am so frustrated that I'm planning to give up and hire a, air quotes, professional. Since we can place multiple service calls if the issue's not resolved, that's why I'm planning on hiring a professional. Let me give you some background. I did a soil test early this year, and it was identified that I had low potassium as well as low micronutrients. We're used to that here in Florida, so that's been my target this year besides the regular apps of nitrogen, pre and post emergent. Here's the issues. Number 1, rare brown patches. I thought I had a root problem, and I thought the potassium in the soil test confirmed that, so I applied 0062 early this year. In my applications, I've been targeting that N and K. I bought all these products locally. I thought it was chinch bugs, so I treated my lawn with spectricide, triazicide. Hold on, we gotta start that over. Oh, I killed it. All right. I thought it may have been chinch bugs, so I treated my lawn with spectricide insect killer last year, and again this year in June. I've used your bulletproof fungicide treatment, curative rates, in these same areas in April of 2020, and I also did Eagle 20W last year. I decided to install plugs, 56 of them by the way, because one area is getting bigger with no grass, but after 2 months, they're all now dried up. They were beautiful when they were installed. Following your videos, I avoided all the mistakes that you mentioned. I can see a pattern in this, like spreading from location to other areas. I'm pretty sure brown patch is going to kill it all here real soon. Obviously, the area with no grass is a great location for weeds, so I've treated all those as well. I've applied liquid aeration, seaweed with humic acid, micronutrients, including the double dark. humic acid, and spot treatments. I again thought it was chinch bugs, so I dug several holes just today. I didn't find any. I got these thin grass areas. First I thought this must be water problems because it gets more stress during those hot days. Let's do the tuna can test. I adjusted my sprinkler heads, raised a few, adjusted time and pattern to get that ½ inch every 3 days. Fungus? I applied the bulletproof strategy yet again, and the double dark and humic acid yet again. Root problem? Again, I applied more Fertaps, more potassium. As you can see, I've applied all of the knowledge that I have absorbed from your channels. My neighbors see me day and night applying these products, following the label's instructions. According to my neighbors, I'm the only dude applying products to my lawn, and I feel confident of what I'm doing. Yet there's something that I'm not catching. There's something I'm not seeing. On top of that, today I received a note from one of the local lawn maintenance companies pointing out all of the deficiencies in my lawn. It slapped me in my face. I'm so frustrated because I enjoy a lot of what I'm doing, but I don't see any results, especially with those expensive products that you've recommended in the past to treat some of these issues. The bottom line, Alan, I need your help. I would appreciate it if you could review these pictures in this email. I'm not sure what else I can do. Thank you so much in advance, Jez. All right, Jez, I got you, bro. Don't you worry. Before I do that, let me show you guys the picture that he got from the old pest bear. The old pest bear that came out and said, "Oh, Jez, everybody else in your neighborhood, their lawn is so perfect and yours is terrible." Let me show you. Let me use this big blue Sharpie. We mark every problem in the book. I'm going to pull this up. This is awesome. By the way, no pest bear. I got nothing against you, bro. You're doing your thing, even though you made Jez feel bad. Old pest bear. Color, fungus, weeds, thin spots, lawn, trees. Oh, he got lawns, and he's even... Oh, pest bear's like, you know what? I got this teddy bear looking picture. I'm holding a checkered flag. The teddy bear is going to tell you everything you're doing wrong. What else they got there? He's holding a checkered flag. Call now. No contract. Yeah. Old pest bear. Yeah, bears. They're good at treating. There's no bears in Florida that I know of, but the pest bear is going to hook you up. He's even going to tell you how bad your trees and shrubs are. Only $75 a month. Plus pest control, $75 a month. $65 for the first app if you sign up for AutoPay over Biter. Or you can text to start. All right, Pest Bear. We don't need you, Pest Bear, even though you have unlimited free service calls. All right. I'm going to tell you guys, the first thing is, and I know Jez has done all of these things, and Jez, you've done fine, but I want to go back to something, and I want everybody to look at this. So see how some of the lawn is green. In fact, some of these pictures, some of the lawn is bright green, and that's what St. Augustine looks like in the summer, is that bright green color. That's just the nature of the color of it. Now, mine gets a little darker for two reasons. Number one, because I use a GoPro that just makes lawn look darker out of the box. I don't do any color grading or any of that. There's a reason I use GoPros, and because when you have the sun a certain angle and you shine it on St. Augustine grass, for some reason the GoPro makes it look darker. No kidding. That's just, I'll tell you that straight up, not hiding anything. Every YouTuber that ever comes here, I tell them that, get a GoPro. It makes grass look darker out of the box. But that brighter green color, that's typically what St. Augustine grass looks like. And then you'll see there's some brown areas. Now, I'm looking at a picture here where I can see his really nice looking brick patio there, brick paver patio. And you'll see the thin areas are right in that armpit of it there. I guarantee you that that's just thin from foot traffic. That's people cutting across that don't want to stay on the patio. That's what that is, okay? That's what's causing the thin spots. So the thin areas in this lawn, and I think I had one other picture that may have shown another thin spot that's next to the screen porch there. That is thin spots from foot traffic, because there doesn't seem to be any real shade here, which is another thing. We'll talk about the word of the week here at the end with thin spots from shade, but that is foot traffic. It also looks like something may have been dumped there. I don't know if you barbecue on the patio and maybe somebody's throwing something off or what, but definitely foot traffic or some sort of what we might call mechanical damage to that spot is all that is. Now, radiating out from the patio, though, you'll notice there is that the lawn is this, I'm looking at it, kind of this tannish color. And it has a little gray look to it. Then it turns into this brighter green. That is heat stress, but St. Augustine likes the heat. So in your case, it's just not enough water. Now I'm going to key in on this one picture here in And yeah, there's a couple different angles where you can see actually that the lawn is more stressed around where the patio is. That's from foot traffic, but also from heat that radiates off the patio. That's what that is. I think I'm missing a photo here. Gosh, I thought I uploaded them all here when I did my pre-show prep. Let's see if I can find this here real quick. I probably won't be able to. I'll find it later. So there is one photo. Hold on, I want to find this because there's a sprinkler head and it's a telltale sign. There it is. Okay, I got it. So I'm going to put up the photo now. There's an irrigation head. Now you can see the sprinkler donut around us. That's that around it. That is a purely Florida thing. So look at the sprinkler donut there, and you'll see the grass is green right around that, and then it turns to that kind of gray, light, tanny, I don't know what color that is, but you see it. That right there is a sprinkler head that is being blocked by the tall grass around it because the grass around it's getting enough water, but the rest isn't. And what is happening is it's spraying, okay, and the grass right around it is getting water, and then the grass at the far reaches is getting water, so it's probably needs to be adjusted. The spray pattern needs to be adjusted to be more even or more consistent throughout the entire stream. I 100% promise you, Jez, you're looking at this picture on the green screen right here. All of that area that is that light tannish or that area that looks stressed, that is not disease. That is not enough water. What you're going to want to do is run that sprinkler right there and put tuna cans in all the brown areas. Get 3 of them. There's 3 distinct areas I can see in this photo here. And for those of you listening, you do the same thing. If you have areas that look like they're checking out, and areas that are green around, put the tuna cans in the brown areas and run the cycle and see how much. And by the way, put tuna cans in the green areas too and compare the difference in the water. Or while you're doing that, watch the stream. You'll be able to see that the areas that are green are getting more squirt than the areas that are not. It is literally that simple. Now, one thing I know, Jez, about what's going to happen here is we are in our rainy season, but we're not getting our rain. So we had a drought, a very severe drought in your area and my area in like February to March. We usually get a little bit of rain. We got like none. So that has weakened your grass. Then we had 7 or 8 straight days of rain with Hurricane Cristobal. I don't know how much of that you got in Sanford, but for sure right now we're not getting any rain and lawns are checking out. Here's my neighbor's lawn right here in his backyard, checking out, right? It was just green after all the rain with Cristobal. It was dark green. Now it's checked out again. So he doesn't have irrigation. You have an irrigation system that's not covering properly. You're getting 0 rain help, and this is what we're seeing. This is exactly what this is. This is nothing more than that. Nothing more to worry about. Here, I can see that spot now by the porch over there, or by your lanai. It looks like somebody's maybe coming out the door and dumping something. Maybe do you have a dog that's coming right out the door of the lanai and just walking over to that spot and peeing there? Or is there foot traffic there? Are you storing toys there for your kids? There's something right outside of that lanai that is causing the grass to die there, but it isn't disease and it isn't fungus. It's mechanical damage. And then everything surrounding that is just lack of water. If you go look at the St. Augustine grass blades in those areas, I bet you they're curled up too. So that's what that is. That's lack of water. Now the pest bear, he's going to take advantage. Here's another one I'm looking at where down your sidewalk, you can see that the rest of the lawn is green and looking good, but by your sidewalk, it's not. That's because you have heat that's radiating off of that sidewalk. And even though your irrigation is covering well in this area, it's just that the middle of the lawn doesn't get as much stress from the heat as the areas by the sidewalk. So this is where hydrotane could help, but really what this means is you probably need to just turn this irrigation up to more than a 1/2 inch, because even though the 1/2 inch is good enough for the main section of the lawn, it isn't good enough for these edges. So if you can't be there every day to supplement it with some hand watering, you're just going to need to up that irrigation cycle and help it to come back. However, we're going to get rain. This is Florida. We're going to start getting rain every day at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We just aren't there yet. So Jez, I want you to write me back once the rainy season actually starts. Let's hope it does this year. And I bet you all of this will turn green. I want you to still, go and take a fresh tuna can challenge by putting the tuna cans in all those brown spots. But for sure, you're not getting enough water to those areas. I'm looking at an area on the parkway here. this is an area probably, once again, I bet you got a broken sprinkler head right there. Maybe there was some disease in there. I see a little spot of nutsedge coming up through it. My parkway, here's my parkway right here. It looks the same way. That parkway is ignored. I actually turned the irrigation off there, and you can see what it did. The reason I did that is because I'm going to get a new sidewalk put in, and it's going to wreck it anyway. And then I'm going to work to bring it back. I've actually already started working on it a little bit, but that right there just looks like way too much heat with not enough water. Again, that area is surrounded by street and sidewalk, so it just gets pummeled by the oh, you know what I think? By the heat. I think what's happening is probably that section or that zone that waters that parkway is probably tied to the same zone that waters across the way. And what happens is you took a Tuna Can Challenge, or even if you took a Tuna Can Challenge here, that zone, it's running. However, this section really needs to be on its own zone because it requires a lot more water. I bet you that's the case. It's running on it should have its own zone because it needs different heads. Even if it has different heads, it needs to be treated differently. Either way, you're going to have to up that watering. Again, same deal there. It doesn't get enough water. That's the only problem that you have with that. But all of these areas that look kind of tan in here, that's all just lack of water. Looks like this is your front yard for sure. Just need more water. I know that we always say that. You just need more water, but I promise you do. Now, you can wait for the rain to do that for you, or you can take and start upping your watering now. Now, I don't know what your water bill is. I can't dictate that. A lot of places in Florida, you're allowed to have your own well and supplement that watering. However, when you do that, you typically are going to get a lot of stuff from that water that's going to stain your sidewalks brown. Most neighborhoods nowadays don't allow it. It looks like you're in a newer subdivision. They're not going to allow you to have your own well and your own pump to run your irrigation. So you're going to have to run irrigation off city water, and that can get expensive. But again, once we get that, you probably only have to bite that little bullet for a little bit of time here. And once we get to the rainy season, Jez, all of that's going to come back. So that's all I recommend for you is more water, and then limit the foot traffic. Watch your family, watch your friends when they come over. I bet you they're walking in those areas. Talk to people that are around that lanai and ask them what they're dumping there. If you're storing toys there, something's going on. That's really it. That was an easy one for me. And by the way, there's a lot of you that may be facing that. I see St. Augustine grass lawns all the time that look just like this. It'll happen with Bermuda. It'll happen with Zoysia. It'll happen with all of them. All right, next, let's get to our last little segment here. Hey, it's the Word of the Week. The Word of the Week comes to us. Okay, that wasn't long enough. Man, I was going too. Word of the Week comes to us this week from Cassie Reed on Twitter. Cassie Reed is a Scots Pro Vista turfgrass specialist. Follow her on Twitter. She did not know I was going to mention her. But I like to mess around. I shouldn't say it that way, but I like to tweet around with other turfgrass folks on the Twitters over by there. I like to bring some positivity to the Twitters. And she put out a word. Somebody asked her a question about something, and she said that the lawn looked etiolated. Now, I'm pronouncing it wrong on purpose. It's Etiolated. It's etiolated. The lawn looked etiolated. And I'd never heard that term before. I knew what it was. And you'll see this in St. Augustine grass that's growing in shade. It will thin out. The stolons are still there, but it doesn't put up as much grass blades. It puts out more lengthened stolons because it's looking to find more sunlight. So it'll still put up grass blades, but not quite as few. And what that does, or not quite as many, and what that does is it thins the turf out. And the term for that means pale and drawn out due to lack of sunlight. And the word there, the word of the week, is etiolated. Your lawn is etiolated. So there you go. That's the word of the week. Let me, I should have. All right. So there you go. There's the word of the week. That's it for this week's podcast. Lawns Across America, episode 30-something. Hope this podcast brought some brightness to your day, some positivity in a world of toxicity. On top of that, I hope you learned something that'll make you a better lawn practitioner. As always, I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks a lot for joining. Don't forget on this podcast, subscribe. It's on all of the different podcast platforms. Oh, I'm killing this. All right, see you guys later. I'll see you in the lawn.